Today I sat down to rewatch a classic, The Stepford Wives, the 1975 version, not the 2004 Nicole Kidman remake. This film is based on the 1972 novel by Ira Levins. I think this is like a great horror movie that might not necessarily be looked at as like a traditional horror movie from the 70s. The ending is so chilling. I remember when I was 14 years old, my grandma made me sit on the couch with her and watch this film. It was really important to her that I sat down and watched this film, understand the context, understood where we were in society. And it's kind of interesting to see where our society is kind of heading right now. It seems like we might be going a little bit backwards. I definitely think this is an important film to revisit now, especially with everything that's going on politically. Also, like, there's been like a resurgence of like the trad wives thing. Like, it seems like there are some women that are so interested in just being the perfect homemaker. It's an interesting thing. So that's one reason I wanted to rewatch The Stepford Wives, because I think this is such an important film. Spoilers ahead for the film if you don't know anything about The Stepford Wives. I'll basically be talking about the entire movie, so spoilers ahead. The main character's name is Joanna. She is a photographer. She lives in the city with her 2 children and her husband Walter, but she's told, hey, we're gonna move to the suburbs. We're moving to Stepford, Connecticut. Let's go. And even though she does not want to move because she has a career, she's a photographer. She loves living in the city, but it's 1975, so, you know, she just follows her husband to the suburbs. She is already like completely put off by the other women in this town. They are all like seemingly mechanical, smiling. All they want to do is bake and cook for their families, talk about the grocery store. They don't seem to have thoughts of their own, and they're not very interesting. But thankfully, there is another wife named Bobby that has also recently moved to Stepford, and they connect immediately. Great conversation. They are both feminists. They both didn't want to move to the suburbs. They both had dreams of their own, careers of their own, but they went with their husbands and their children to the suburbs. And so they kind of just sit around and kind of shit talk their husbands and all the other women there. Their husbands have joined a men's association club that is very secretive. They meet like every night. And Joanna is increasingly confused and a little bit paranoid about like what could they be doing at this men association. Soon enough, she meets some of the men from the club, and she notices some strange things going on. Like, one man is sketching her. Another man approaches her and asks for her to help him with a project. He needs her to kind of list out a lot of details about herself, say certain words in a microphone, things like that. He wants to gather data. He's telling her he's gathering data from everyone in the town to help with like a computer project he's working on. Just, you know, things are kind of weird. She meets another woman that has recently moved to Stepford, but all of a sudden she just completely loses interest in her passion, which was tennis. She just spends her days cooking and cleaning in the kitchen. And so she and Bobby are very confused and concerned about what's happening to the women in Stepford, and they go on a mission to figure out what's going on. First, they think maybe something's in the drinking water, but after some more research, that doesn't seem to be the case. Unfortunately, Bobby all of a sudden turns into a Stepford wife. All she knows to do is cook and clean, and Joanna feels incredibly alone, and she's terrified. She's kind of deducted that, hey, once a woman is here for at least 4 months, they turn into a different person. And my time's coming up because I've been here almost 4 months. While they're living in the suburbs, she, you know, is continuously taking pictures. She's trying to, you know, develop her passion. She tells Walter she doesn't want to be there, but Walter becomes kind of increasingly more irritated with her, a little bit more cold with her, and he suggests that she go and talk to a psychologist. So she does. And I love that psychologist. I love that woman. She basically tells her, like, get out, get your children, go, find somewhere safe. I'll talk to you in a couple days to check in. She goes home, and unfortunately, her kids are gone, and her husband is trying to kind of lead her upstairs. Her husband says their children are staying with friends, but won't tell her where they are. She tries to find where her kids are. She ends up going to Bobby's house because she assumes her kids might be there. And she kind of has a confrontation with Bobby. She's like, something has changed. Look, when I cut myself, I bleed. Do you bleed? And she ends up stabbing her, and nothing comes out. So she understands now, oh, I think everyone's robots. Unlike the 2004 movie with Nicole Kidman, which I liked, it was like more of a comedy, but honestly, that movie never really decided what they wanted the movie to be. Like, they insinuated that the women were robots, but then they also insinuated it was just like mind control. It was a whole thing, and that movie ends much, much nicer than the 1975 movie. This ending is very bleak. It ends really, really badly for our main character, Joanna. And honestly, I feel like a lot of good 1970s horror movies end in this way. It's like, oh, okay, that is a pretty big bummer. Things don't always look so great for our lead characters in 1970s horror movies. Our main character finally is confronted with the truth. She meets the man that's in charge of the men's association, and he basically lets her know, like, you're an interesting case study, but it's time. It's your time is now. And she just asks a simple question: Why? And he goes, because we can. As if you could change your spouse into the perfect person, someone that would service you, cook and clean for you, do whatever you wanted them to do, would you do it? Eventually, she's confronted with the identical robot version of herself. Basically, we are led to believe that the robot version of herself ends up ending her life. And the next thing we see is all the women in the town walking around the grocery store, greeting each other, and we see Joanna, the new Joanna, and she's just doing her thing, walking around the grocery store, and that's how it ends. And I just think it's so interesting because it's like it approaches like very pro-feminist and anti-feminist themes in this film. I don't think the reception of this film was that great in the 1970s because I think a lot of men were taking a little bit of offense to it. This was the time during like the second wave feminist movement. There's a lot of discussion about women's rights, equal opportunity. There's more talk against domestic violence, and so many things were going on in the 1970s regarding the feminist movement. And so movies like these and books like these, very important. They were like a time capsule into what it was like as a woman in the 70s. This story still holds up today because like this is a nightmare. This is terrifying. Watching it today, it was just as terrifying as the first time I watched it, like in 2004. I really enjoy this movie. It is an underrated horror movie because again, I don't think people necessarily view it as like a traditional horror movie, but it truly is. The ending is absolutely terrifying. The woman that wrote the book also wrote Rosemary's Baby, so like, for reference. I think this is such a good movie. If you've never seen the 1975 version of Stepford Wives, I highly recommend that you do. Right now you can watch it for free on Tubi. That's how I watched it. And yeah, I think this is a great film. One that is often overlooked, and I think it's very important.